On October 1st, I set out from Michigan, making a 4-day journey to Florida, where my husband and I winter through every year from October until May. My husband left the same day in his truck, along with all of my Etsy inventory in tow, and they made it to Florida in 2 days. But I took 4 days and I visited 14 different Goodwills. Actually, if you count the one I visited in Michigan before I left home and the one I went to once I got here in Florida, that comes up to 16 Goodwills. I didn't buy something at every one, as I mentioned in my previous video, where I compared prices and availability of vintage in those different locations. But today I am going to show you my haul, what I purchased at each one of those locations, and I'm going to share with you what I purchased at that cute little antique mall that I stopped at in Beckley, West Virginia. Along the way, I'm going to take a quick time out and show you how I process one of these items. I call it processing, where I take it from the way I bring it home from the store, clean it, remove the tag, list it into my inventory sheet, photograph it, and make the listing, and then wrap it and pack it away into my inventory bins. That'll just be a quick little snippet in the middle. Then we'll get back to the haul. At the very end today, I want to share with you the very first Christmas item that I have sold in my shop this year in my What Sold This Week video segment. So please join me as we take a look at what I got from different Goodwills from 7 different states. The first morning, I drove a little more than 3 hours from my home in Michigan to get to the Wapakoneta store, but I was so happy with what I found there. The first thing I saw was this Currier and Ives pie plate for $2.99. I sell a lot of this royal china in my shop. Also, I found 2 great wedding cake toppers from Precious Moments, both in styles that sell out as soon as I can get them. Then I got all together 12 Cat's Meows and 2 of these rainbow row houses for only $11.97, 86 cents a piece. Now what you see is what's left, because my daughter collects them and she's already picked out the ones she wants to keep. But the rest of them I'm going to put in my shop and try to sell. I know the prices are all over the place for these. So if you have sold Cat's Meows, please comment and let us know how that went. What did you sell them for? How long did they take to sell? I also bought a pair of pants there in Wapakoneta. Then I continued my journey in Vandalia, Ohio. I found a set of 4 Longchamp crystal champagne flutes that were $2.99 a piece. And then when I got them home, I realized one was chipped, so I threw it away. The one that was not chipped, though, that's extra, I will add to a set of mismatched crystal champagne flutes that I'm putting together. And once I have 8 of those, I'm going to list them as kind of a party pack. The other item that I got there was this beautiful Last Supper plate with a gilded rim made by Morgan Hopper China in Somerset, Kentucky for $2.99. That is one that we will walk through that full Etsy process of listing later in the video, so stick around for that. I did not make a purchase at the Dayton, Chillicothe, or Jackson Goodwill, but in the Gallipolis, Ohio Goodwill, I found a couple of these really sweet anniversary gift plates for $3.99 each. Not major scores, but steady sellers for me. The next store I made a purchase at was the Teays Valley, West Virginia Goodwill. I showed you this clump of crystal in my last video. I knew that 1 was damaged, but when I got home, I found that 3 were damaged. But that's okay. I still ended up with 2 crystal champagne flutes. These are from Avon. Who knew? I didn't know Avon did crystal champagne flutes for $3.49. That will be perfectly fine because crystal champagne flutes, wine glasses sell so well in my store. It's okay that I had to throw 3 of them away. I'll still do okay on these. Next was the Beckley, West Virginia Goodwill. I found an Avon pressed glass butter dish for $6.98. It was a little steep, but I usually get 24 to 28 for butter dishes. So it'll always work out. I'm always low on butter dishes in the shop, and this was a really pretty one. It was, I'm telling you, the nicest item in that store. So I was happy with it. In Beckley, I also stopped at this really cute little antique mall, and I hit the jackpot. I found so much good stuff there. I spent a total of $116.36. I got some shiny silver, probably not silver plate, but chrome candlestick holders for $12. Two brass candelabras for $25. A single 4-inch silver plate candlestick holder for $4.75, brass unicorn for $16, brass trivet for $6, a 7.5-inch single silver plate candlestick holder for $8, 25th anniversary pedestal plate for $5, a Leonard silver plate teapot for $20, and a Pilgrim silver plate tea set. The pot was $20. The sugar and creamer were $12. And I realized after I took this picture, that lid does not go on that sugar bowl. That will be sold as an open sugar. I don't know what that lid goes to, but it doesn't go to that. That was a great stop, and it really energized me to keep me going the rest of the way down the road, stopping at all these Goodwills. My last stop in day 2 was in Wytheville, Virginia. My spend here was actually $22.07. I misquoted that in my last video. Here I found a set of 6 Blendo style glasses, 3 hand-painted tumblers, and 3 plain juice glasses. I also picked up a bundled set of silver plate pieces. I didn't even know what they were, but it worked out to be a vegetable dish with a lid and then an extra lid. And I find those bottom pieces all the time, so I'll just hang on to that. I also found this Chippendale little silver plate dish for $3.99. This colonial looking Homeco wall hanging for $3.99, and a beautiful Jesus plate for $3.99 also. I felt like I did pretty well here. Let's get one of these items all the way into my inventory. And since I've had one like this before, I'm just going to copy another listing. So that's how I'll be approaching this. First, I use a utility knife to remove the tag, and then I wash it thoroughly. I like to get all of the goo and grime from the Goodwill store off of it, especially get all that glue from the tag off of it, because nobody wants to receive something that they paid quite a bit for and realize, oh, it's still got the Goodwill sticker glue on it. So I wash it thoroughly and then dry it really well so it will look good in the photos. Here is, and I know it's kind of small, but this is part of my inventory sheet. I've given it the SKU there. It's number 466 this year. I'm going to store it in bin 23. I've already made sure there's room there. It's wall art. It's a Last Supper plate by Morgan Hopper of Kentucky. I purchased it on 10-1 in Vandalia, Ohio, and I paid $3.29 for it. Next come the pictures. I take a picture from the front, and then I take a picture of the back, and then I try to get a really up close of the maker's mark, and it shows up pretty well here. Then I take a measurement shot. There's really not much more to photograph on a piece like this. There were no chips or anything. And then I just do the best I can with the video. I think on this video in particular, I got kind of close in so you could see the details of the plate. And then I asked ChatGPT to create a thumbnail image for me. I said, please put it on an antique sideboard with greenery around it, have it in a plate holder sitting on a doily, and that's exactly what I got. So I'm very happy with my styled thumbnail. Let's move ahead to the listing process. So instead of making a whole new listing for this, I am going to copy the listing of another Last Supper plate that I already have in my shop. All you have to do is click on the down arrow next to the settings wheel after you pull this up in your listings, and it will open up a listing window to you that will already be pre-populated with everything you already had in that other listing. You just have to change whatever you want to change for a new listing. So the first thing I did was remove all the pictures associated with that other plate, and I gave it a working title, which I'll change later. I added my photos, and I added a whole bunch of my QR codes to the different sections of my shop, just because I wanted to try to use up as many of the 20 new slots as I could. But I'm probably going to go back in and delete some of those, because I think that might just make people mad, seeing all those extra photos that have nothing to do with the item itself. So if I can keep it to 10, I probably will on this. Having those extra photo slots will help for some items, just not for items that don't require a lot of photos. I did ask ChatGPT to help me out with a concise description, and that's what I got. I'm not going to read it all to you. That would be really boring. I am going to price this at $24, at least to begin with. It'll probably sell for that. I have one, and there's my SKU number. Notice I have an F in front of this one because this will be part of my Florida inventory. I only put the F's and the M for Michigan in front of my SKUs in Etsy itself. I don't try to do it in my inventory sheets because quite frankly, I can tell by the bin number in my inventory sheet because I know which bins are in Michigan and which are in Florida. Because I have Etsy Plus, I can have people request this if I run out of it. And that doesn't happen very often, but I just turn it on for every one of my items. And that way I know when I'm outsourcing what I'm likely to sell if I can find it. The only thing I changed in the core details was the date, because I wasn't sure of the date on this. I would say probably 50s or 60s, but I couldn't really confirm that. So I just chose before 2006. But the category is religious, home, and decor, and it's ceramic, which the other plate was too. So I didn't have to change either of those two, just the date. Under more of the attributes, I chose gold as the primary color because I think that's the most beautiful part of the plate. And then I just chose brown. I could have chosen any of the other colors in the picture itself. I did choose that I thought it would be appropriate gift for baptism. And of course, the holiday it goes with is Easter. One of the best things about copying a listing is when you don't have to change a lot from the original listing. I left all of the same tags up for this Last Supper plate that I had for the other one. And of course, it's ceramic like the other one, so win-win. I left the same calculated shipping profile that I use for all of my items, 1 to 3 days. Of course, I have to change the zip code when I come to Florida. It's different in Michigan because, of course, that affects the shipping price. The weight of this item was about a pound, and as I mentioned in my shipping video, I always add about 8 ounces for the weight of the box and the shipping materials, and I am sure I will cut down a 10 by 10 by 10 box to 10 by 10 by 5 for this, just so I can get plenty of packing material all the way around it and keep it safe. Now, I have a no returns or exchanges policy in my shop. That policy I actually copied from another YouTuber's Etsy shop, and they said, go ahead and copy this policy. If you agree with it, you want to use it, that way you don't have to write it yourself. So if you want to go into my Etsy shop and copy my return policy and use it in your shop, have at it, because I got it for free and I'm willing to share. The shop section is my vintage pottery and ceramics section. I'm not going to feature this listing right now. I might closer to Easter. Right now I am featuring Courier and Ives dishes in my featured section. I set this as an automatic renewal because it will sell year round. So that is the end. All I have to do now is press save, and here is my listing as it appears in my shop. Notice I did revise that title a little bit. I ended up calling it Vintage Last Supper Plate Wall Art, 8-inch Morgan Hopper China, gold trim, religious Christian decor, made in Kentucky, USA. So I start with the title, but then by the time I actually hit save, I have made sure that that title reflects everything that I want it to say. Once I have it listed, I wrap it securely in some packing paper, bubble wrap if it needs it. I label it with the SKU number, and then I place it in the bin where I have room for it, and I've noted in my inventory sheet where I place it, and there it sits until it sells. Let's get back to the rest of that haul. On day 3, I was energized from Withville's finds, but when I hit South Carolina and Georgia, things swung back to slim pickings. Both states leaned modern, which isn't what I sell. I sell vintage. Still, I did manage to rescue a few things. In Greenville, I purchased this single Crystal d'Arcs Masquerade champagne flute that I will add to the set of mismatched flutes I am putting together. And there was this bundle of this old silver plate stuff, and I will tell you, the silver plate was missing off it something terrible. It was all taped together, but it was only $8.99. So I bought it especially because I thought this footed plate or cake plate was so beautiful. And when my husband got it cleaned up, it was gorgeous. It's by Godinger. It's got beautiful details, and I'm not even sure if I'm going to put this up for sale right away. I might keep it and use it for myself for a while because I do love the silver plate. It was only a short drive to the Piedmont, South Carolina Goodwill, where I picked up this footed silver plate meat tray for $1.99. I've never sold one of these before. They're actually kind of big to ship. I don't know how it's going to go, but I could tell the silver plate, though it's tarnished, is in really good shape. So I couldn't leave it for $1.99. I got it and I brought it home with me. On day 4, I left my hotel in Macon, Georgia, and made my way very quickly into Florida. At the Lake City, Florida Goodwill, I was able to score these 2 champagne flutes, which both say made in USA on them. I think they're probably Anchor Hocking. They were only $1.99 each. And then I got these other 2, and I know I've said before, I don't usually pick up the Crystal d'Arcs wine glasses. These are the Longchamp, but they're the larger size. So I picked those up as well. They were $3.99 a piece. I reactivated all of my Christmas vintage items on September 29th. I did mention that I was going to let you know if reactivating all of those items I had in Florida and deactivating the items I had in Michigan affected my traffic. I printed these stats out to show you that I did have quite a dip, a dip around September 27th in visits. And I totally attribute that to deactivating that Michigan merchandise and reactivating the Florida merchandise. Don't pay any attention to that huge dip down on October 11th because I printed this in the morning. It looks like at the very end of this line graph, I am starting to move back upwards again. This cute little Lefton Christmas salt and pepper shaker set was only about 2 inches tall. I had sourced this at an antique store in Michigan more than 2 years ago, but realized that Christmas items don't stay active in my store only from about September through December or January. So even though it's been in my inventory for a couple of years, it really hasn't been out there for sale on Etsy even a total of a year. So I was really happy that someone got these cute little salt and pepper shakers. The cost of goods sold or cost of goods sourced was $5.09. And like I say, that was back in September of 2023. I sold them for $14.40. They were listed for $16, but the customer used a cart coupon for 10%, and that brought the price to $14.40. So my gross profit was $9.31. My gross margin was 64.7%, which is okay, especially for something that I've had for a while. And my return on investment was 182.9%. Not exactly what I would like, but what I'm finding as I calculate these return on investments is that the lower the price of the item, the lower the return on investment is going to be. So if I'm selling for something for under $20, I'm probably not going to get a 300% return on investment. That's just kind of the way it is. Thank you so much for joining me today. Perhaps you would like to watch this video so that you can keep supporting our channel. Really appreciate all the subscribers, all of the views. It's been such a blessing. Have a great day.